welcome back to another Giant Slayer TFT video. It has been a crazy week with set 3 finally being out on PBE. Be it if you're a casual player or competitive player, it's a lot to take in with all of the new synergies and champions. So today we have our Master to Challenger analyst taking a deep dive into the new meta to give you some insight and basic introductions to the new set. Please note that everything in this video is based on when the PBE was first released, so things will almost certainly be changed in the future. But before we begin, please do not forget to click the links in our description. Give your support to everyone who helped make this video happen. We host many TFT tournaments with plenty of exciting content to come, so be sure to also follow our Giant Slayer TV social media pages. All right, let's get right into it. There's a total of 10 origins in TFT set 3, and they are Celestial, Chrono, Cybernetic, Darkstar, Mech Pilot, Rebel, Space Pirate, Star Guardian, Valkyrie, and Void. And there's also 13 classes, which are as follows: Blade Master, Blaster, Brawler, Demolitionist, Infiltrator, Mana Reaver, Mercenary, Mystic, Protector, Sorcerer, Sniper, Starship, and Vanguard. Today, let's focus on the origins and all the champions. Be sure to tune into our next videos for part 2, where we deep dive into the classes. So the first one we're going to cover here is Celestial. All allies heal for 12% at 2, at 25% at 4, and 50% at 6 Celestial for the damage that they deal. In our in-house Master to Challenger lobbies, we haven't really seen much success with 4 or 6 Celestials. The comp can be too squishy. However, just 2 Celestials can be a great, easy asset. Let's talk Xayah. Her ability is Deadly Plumage, which creates a storm of blades, gaining 100% attack speed for a few seconds. She's a decent unit, especially for her synergies of both Celestial and Blade Master. Although not the strongest unit herself and will fall off pretty quickly in the mid to late game, using her early to proc these synergies can be incredibly strong. If Xayah is in set 3 though, then there's another unit that absolutely has to be there too. Her lover, Rakan, joins us in set 3 as well. Rakan comes with an ability, Grand Entrance. Rakan dashes to his next attack and then leaps into the air, knocking up and damaging all adjacent enemies. A little disappointed that there's no more Soulbound, a special interaction between him and Xayah, but glad to see them together. Moving right along to Xin Zhao. Exactly like Rakan, he's also a Celestial and Protector. His ability is 3 Talon Strikes. Xin Zhao quickly strikes his target 3 times, dealing basic damage and applying on-hit effects. The third strike will deal bonus magic damage and knocks his target up for 1.5 seconds. Going into 3 cost now is Kassadin. His ability is Force Pulse, where he releases a wave of energy in front of him, dealing magic damage and disarming all targets he hits. He has finally returned from set 1 with a whole new kit, and we're excited to see if he becomes a part of the meta. Speaking of returning units, Ashe has returned for a 3rd time, and yes, she's incredibly strong again. A Celestial Sniper with the ability Enchanted Crystal, Ashe fires an arrow towards the furthest enemy, colliding with the first enemy hit, dealing damage and stunning all units in the area for 2 seconds. For a 3 cost unit to potentially stun units for 2 seconds, yeah, that might be OP. Last but not least for our Celestial units is our first 5 cost unit, Lulu. Her ability is Mass Polymorph, where she polymorphs the nearest enemies for 4 seconds, rendering them unable to attack or cast and causing them to hop around aimlessly. Being both a Celestial and Mystic, she's a great support unit to throw in along with her powerful CC. Let's go to the second origin on our list, Chrono. All allies gain 15% at 2, 35% at 4, and 70% attack speed at 6 every 4 seconds. Chrono is a late game synergy to pair with most comps. Beginning with our set 1 unit, Twisted Fate returns with a new ability. His ability is Wild Cards, where he throws 3 cards in a cone that deal magic damage to each enemy they pass through. Same as before, he's also a sorcerer, which is very strong in this current meta. Next is Caitlyn. Her ability Ace in the Hole has her take aim at the furthest enemy, firing a deadly bullet that deals magic damage to the first enemy it hits. She pairs great with Ashe, another sniper that we mentioned earlier. For a 1 cost unit, she really does pack a punch. We've seen her ult instantly kill off a target throughout the early and mid game. It's really nice to see so many units actually returning from set 1, and the next is Shen, who returns with a very similar kit. His ability is Future's Refuge, where he creates a zone around himself for a few seconds, granting nearby allies 100% chance to dodge incoming basic attacks. While active, Shen gains magic resistance, and just like before, he is still incredibly good in the early to mid game due to the sustainability he provides. Blitzcrank returns to us in set 3. His ability is still Rocket Grab, where he pulls the furthest enemy to him, which will then become a priority for the team to to attack. Time to scout again and position your carry very carefully. Okay, there's one last returning unit to talk about with the Chrono Origin. Ezreal is returning to us again from set 2. He did get a new ability now called EMP, where he fires an electromagnetic pulse at a random enemy that explodes on impact, dealing magic damage to all nearby enemies and increasing the cost of their next ability by 40%. Although he no longer stuns, he does provide a great support synergy to his allies while pushing out sufficient damage himself. But enough about those old set 1 and 2 champions. Let's talk about the new epic Chrono champion, Wukong. Wukong has been one of the best frontliners we've seen in the meta so far. His ability is Cyclone, where he spins rapidly, dealing magic damage and knocking enemies into the air. A tank with CC has always proved to be great in any meta, and we expect Wukong to do just that. Alright, here comes another legendary champion. From 2 cost to a 5 cost, let's talk about Thresh. His ability is Temporal Passage, where he will pull a random enemy unit from the bench into active combat. For a late game legendary, you're going to want to keep your bench free of low cost units to ensure that Thresh pulls a good unit into the battle. Fun note on Thresh though is that at tier 3, he'll pull all 9 units from the bench. Although the chances of this are incredibly low, it will absolutely be fun to see. Moving on to one of our analysts' favorite synergies, it's Cybernetic. Cybernetic units with an item gain 30 AD and 300 HP at 3 units, and 75 AD and 750 HP at 6. Although this origin falls off a bit in the mid game, hitting 3 Cybernetics early is incredibly powerful in the early game. The first 4 units are all returning from Season 1 or 2. The first up is Leona with the ability Cyber Barrier. The barrier will reduce all incoming damage by a flat amount. She's a decent early game tank that will fall off in the mid to late game. Next is Fiora with the same kit as in set 1. Her ability is Riposte, where she becomes immune to damage for 1.5 seconds and then stuns and deals magic damage to a nearby enemy once she's out of that state. Still as squishy as before, but she does have the potential to be a really great early game item holder. Going over to Lucian now, his kit is the same as set 1 instead of set 2. The ability is Relentless Pursuit, where he dashes away from his current target, dealing basic attack and a second magic damage shot. Moving on to Vi, who also has a reused kit. Her ability is Assault and Battery, where she charges to the furthest enemy, knocking and dealing magic damage to all enemies along the way. Finally, Aurelia is our first new Cybernetic champion with the ability Blade Surge. She dashes past her target, attacking them for a percentage of her attack damage as she passes through them. If this kills the target, she casts again immediately at the enemy with the highest mana. Last but certainly not least is another new champion, Echo. His ability is Chrono Break, where he shatters the timeline, freezing all units in time before attacking each enemy with bonus magic damage and applying on-hit effects. A funny note here is that it also freezes your little legend. The next synergy is one that needs a little bit more testing on our end. We've seen people go either first or 8th with this build quite often, and it is the Darkstar Origin. When a Darkstar dies, it gives 30% at 3 units or 60% at 6 units increased attack damage plus previous stacks of this effect to the nearest Darkstar ally. So first up is Jarvan IV. His ability is Ageless Standard, where he calls down his standard to a nearby location, granting nearby allies attack speed for 6 seconds. He isn't the best frontline tank, but can act as a decent support unit as he continues to buff his allies. Speaking of tanks though, one of the best tanks in the game is part of the Darkstar Origin. That's right, it's Mordekaiser. From being one of the worst units in set 1, now he is one of the best. His ability is Indestructible, where he gains a shield that absorbs damage. While this shield lasts, he also deals magic damage per second to all nearby enemies. Just like the name of his ability, he really does seem indestructible while his ability is active. And now from a 7 cost unit down to a mere 3 cost, we have Lux in set 3. However, she's still as strong as ever. Her ability is now Lurid Binding, where she fires a sphere of darkness that passes through enemies, dealing magic damage and stunning them. A unit that is worth stacking and carrying throughout the mid to late game. Moving on is Karma, and she has the same exact kit as she did in set 2. Her ability is Inspire, where she gives a shield to the nearest ally while granting them attack speed as the shield holds. Next up is Shaco. His ability is Deceive, where he teleports and backstabs his target, critically critically striking them for a percentage of his basic attack damage. He reminds us a lot of Kha'Zix's kit in set 2. Lastly, one of the powerhouses of the Darkstar Origin, Jhin. His ability is Whisper, which is a passive ability. He converts 1% of his bonus attack speed into 0.8 attack damage, and every 4th shot he will deal bonus attack damage. Basically, he may hit slower than normal carries, but he hits real hard. Moving on to a fun one, the 5th Origin is Mech Pilot. At the start of combat, Mech Pilots are merged into a super mech unit until it dies. Upon death, the units are returned back to their original state. These units are Annie, a 2-cost Mech Pilot Sorcerer, Rumble, a 3-cost Mech Pilot Demolitionist, and Fizz, a 4-cost Mech Pilot Infiltrator. Alright, so Annie's new ability is now Galaxy Shield Blast. Sad to see her without her bare tibbers, but instead she now shields herself and blasts a cone of fire, dealing magic damage. Meanwhile, we have Rumble, whose ability is Flame Spitter. Rumble torches his enemy, dealing magic damage in a cone over 3 seconds and reducing healing on them by 80% for 5 seconds. And lastly is Fizz, whose ability is Chum the Waters. Fizz throws a lure that attracts a shark, causing it to emerge after a brief delay. It deals magic damage to the enemies caught, knocking them back and stunning them for 1.5 seconds. If you find all 3 Mech Pilots early, the power spike is pretty insane. They can carry you pretty far into the mid game. However, once you get into the late game, they will begin to fall off. So time to experiment more and see how you can win with them. It is a blast creating the raid boss. Our 6th Origin is Rebel, one that we believe to be incredibly strong in the meta. At the start of combat, Rebels gain a 125 to 200 health shield for 8 seconds and 10% to 15% increased damage for each adjacent Rebel between Tier 1 and Tier 3. 3 Rebels is incredibly easy to hit since many of them are actually low cost. For the late game, you're going to want to look for a Jinx and Aurelion Soul to replace one of your weaker units. Starting with Ziggs, we have his ability, which is simply called Bomb. And just like his ability sounds, he simply throws a bomb at the enemy, dealing magic damage. For our other 1-cost Rebel, we have Malphite. No longer the giant rock that will CC enemies, his new ability is Energy Shield passive. Malphite will start combat with a shield equal to a percentage of his maximum health, making him a frontline for Rebel composition. And one of our favorite carries is back once again. Yasuo also returns with the same exact ability, Last Breath. He will blink to the enemy with the most items and knock them up while hitting them multiple times. There are so many carries that players like to stack all 3 items on, so making Yasuo is still extremely strong in PBE. Moving on to a new unit though is Sona. Our League of Legends support player has entered set 3 with her ability, Aria of Perseverance. She will heal injured allies and cleanse them of all negative effects. Next unit is Master Yi with his ability, Chosen One. For 5 seconds, Master Yi will gain increased movement speed, heals for a percentage of his maximum health each second, and deals bonus true damage with his basic attacks. It's time to get excited because Jinx is back as well. Her ability is passive as she gets excited after her first takedown and gains bonus attack speed. She is going to most likely be your core carry in this composition. Simply put her in the middle of all of the Rebel units to gain the most shield and damage. And lastly is our giant starship entering the galaxy, Aurelion Soul is here. His ability is Mobilize the Fleet, where he launches fighters that fly out to random enemies, dealing magic damage and then returning. When Aurelion Soul casts again, all fighters plus 3 additional ones will launch. Morelos is an amazing item to build on him as he flies around to all the enemies. That's all the Rebel units. Next up is our 7th Origin, Space Pirates. Set 1 Pirates were considered one of the worst synergies. However, we're interested to see how the revamped version looks in set 3. At 2 Space Pirates, there is a 50% chance to drop 1 gold whenever a Space Pirate lands a killing blow. At 4 Space Pirates, the 50% remains the same for gold, but now there's also a 10% chance to drop an item as well. 4 Space Pirates requires a legendary though, and it may be tough to have Space Pirates carry you into the late game. We see this more as an early game synergy to help with the economy. So Graves is still our 1-cost pirate, but with a new ability, Smoke Grenade. Graves launches a smoke grenade towards the highest attack speed enemy, which explodes on impact, dealing magic damage to enemies in the area and and causing their attacks to miss for 4 seconds. Time for our second pirate, Darius. His ability is Space Pirate Guillotine. Darius dunks an enemy, dealing magic damage. If this kills the target, Darius immediately casts again. Since Space Pirates have a chance to drop a gold when they kill a unit, it may be worth experimenting with a few items on Darius. Next unit is Jace with his ability To the Skies. Jace jumps into the air and slams his hammer, dealing magic damage to nearby enemies. There's no epics in Space Pirate, but we do have a legendary. Gangplank has returned as a 5-cost unit. His ability is Orbital Strike, where he calls down a large circular strike around his target, dealing magic damage to all enemies in the area for 2 seconds. Moving on, let's talk about something sparkly and fun. We got our 8th Origin, Star Guardian. Whenever a Star Guardian casts, the Origin distributes 10 at 3 units or 20 at 6 units mana across all other Star Guardians. Let's begin with Poppy. Her ability is Buckler Toss, where she throws her buckler at the furthest enemy, dealing damage. The buckler bounces back to Poppy, shielding her. She's a great tank to put in the early game. Next is Zoe with her Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Zoe kicks a bubble at the enemy with the highest health, dealing magic damage and stunning them. Very decent early game CC, but she will quickly fall off in the mid game. Moving on is a returning unit that we think is incredibly strong. Ari returns with her Orb of Deception. Her ability did not change, where she fires an orb in a line, dealing magic damage to the enemies it passes through. It then returns to her, dealing true damage to all enemies it passes through. So far, we've seen her be one of the top damage dealers even in the mid to late game. Next up is Nico with a brand new kit. Her ability is Pop Blossom, where she leaps into the air and slams into the ground, dealing magic damage and stunning all nearby enemies. For her CC to work, putting her in the second line is probably best. Moving on to Syndra with her Unleashed Power. Syndra pulls in all orbs on the battlefield and creates 3 new ones, then fires all of them at the enemy with the highest health, dealing magic damage per orb. Lastly, of all the Star Guardians, we have Soraka. Her ability is very simple and easy to understand. Wish is her ult, where she heals all allies. On to the 9th Origin, Valkyrie. Valkyrie units' attacks and spells will always crit targets below 50% health. The units are Kaisa, 2-cost Valkyrie Infiltrator, Kale, a 4-cost Valkyrie Blademaster, and Misfortune, a 5-cost Valkyrie Blaster Mercenary. Starting off with Kaisa, her ability is Missile Rain, where she launches missiles towards each nearby enemy that deal 50 magic damage each. Then we have Kale. Her ability is Ascends, that causes her attacks to launch waves that deal bonus magic damage until the end of combat. We see her shine greatly in Blademaster composition, but out of all of the Valkyrie units, there is one that is dominating the meta right now. She is arguably the strongest unit in set 3. It's Misfortune. Her ability is Bullet Time, where she channels and fires waves of bullets in a cone for 2.25 seconds. She did recently get nerfed, so we're excited to test out her new balance. Stacking ability and tier items on her is the best way to see her absolutely demolish. Last but not least, our 10th Origin returns from set 1, and that is Void. Not much has changed about the Origin since set 1. When you get all the Void units, Void champions deal true damage. The 3 units are Kha'Zix, a 1-cost Void Infiltrator, Vel'Koz, a 4-cost Void Sorcerer, and Cho'Gath, a 4-cost Void Brawler. So beginning with Kha'Zix, his ability is Taste Their Fear. He slashes the nearby enemy, dealing magic damage. If the target has no adjacent teammates, the damage is increased. He's been pretty underwhelming in the meta, so we don't really recommend stacking items on him. Moving on is a new Void unit, Vel'Koz. He's an interesting unit with the ability Lifeform Disintegration. Vel'Koz channels a ray of energy that sweeps across the battlefield for 2.25 seconds, dealing magic damage per second to the enemy's hit. His AI is kind of awkward right now, so we see him either into battle or completely clear the enemies. Last but certainly not least, we have the return of Cho'Gath. His ability is still Rupture, where he deals magic damage and knocks up all of the enemies within. The ability area is incredibly large, making him a great frontline CC tank. That is going to be it for today's video. Whew, that is a lot to take in, right? Which Origin is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and do not forget to hit like and subscribe button to stay tuned for our future videos in part 2, where we'll be covering all of the classes and the remaining champions. And all of our challenger analysts will still be covering the finale of set 2 for those of you still grinding it out. We hope to see you next time for another Giant Slayer TFT video.